Andrew's a gift to this world. The funniest guy.
Remembering the victim in a deadly crash.
Tonight, a father of 3 killed, his daughters and wife injured. What we've learned about the other driver and its connection to another high-profile collision. Good evening. We begin tonight with an Ontario family's calls for justice after a father of 3 was killed in a crash earlier this month.
The other driver charged with dangerous driving, and CTV News has learned that driver was also charged in a collision involving Ontario's premier earlier this year. CTV's John Woodward joins us live with the story. John.
Michelle, that alleged history has his family wondering what that driver was doing behind the wheel in the first place, as they suffer from what they're calling incredible pain and a need to provide for the future for these 3 girls. Andrew Cristillo was a family man with 3 young daughters.
Andrew's a gift to this world. The funniest guy.
And when his wife was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, he stepped up, riding in fundraisers and raising money for cancer research, said his brother Jordan.
He was there along her side through all her appointments, providing her support like a rock.
Then on Sunday, August 3rd, all that changed. Cristillo's car hit head-on just after 9 p.m. as his family returned from a gathering at his parents' house. He died instantly. His wife, Christina, rescued the girls.
She's the strongest person I know. She had to kick her way out of the windshield and try to pull these girls one by one out of the car on her own while they're calling for help from their daddy.
The 4 survivors recovering in hospital. The girls were told of their father's death last week.
Leah has a cast that she saved a spot for Daddy to sign. But he won't be able to do that now.
18-year-old Jay Winkiru Benanthan has been charged with dangerous driving causing Cristillo's death and bodily harm to his daughters. He's also charged with making a false statement to police and accused of failing to remain at the scene. And CTV News has learned the same driver was also charged in a collision on the 401 that sideswiped Premier Doug Ford's vehicle in January.
We were just driving straight. Next thing you know, you got hammered.
We want justice for Andrew, and to make sure that reckless driving, where people have no respect for the lives that they impact with their actions, is put to an end.
Until this happened, surviving Christina's cancer was the family's first focus. Now it's preparing for their dad's funeral. The Cristillo family has set up a GoFundMe page to raise money for the daughters, and they still have these remaining questions about what that driver was doing behind the wheel. The driver himself had a bail hearing here at Newmarket Court this morning. It was adjourned, and you can be sure that when it resumes, the family will be watching. Reporting live from Newmarket, I'm John Woodward. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, John. Back here in Toronto, an often vandalized speed enforcement camera is back in business tonight. Crews are on scene reinstalling the camera on Parkside Drive this morning. It's been chopped down for the 6th time in 9 months.
This is not a joke, folks. Speed kills. There's a reason why there are speed camera there. If you're breaking the law, we're going to tag you. We're going to ask you to pay. And that is precisely why there are speed cameras in multiple places.
The speed enforcement camera was vandalized shortly after a surveillance camera was installed to try to catch the people responsible for previous vandalism. The Parkside Drive camera was installed in 2022 and has issued over 66,000 tickets, bringing in more than $7 million in fines.
We turn to turbulence at several major airports across the country today.
Air Canada flight attendants coordinated a silent protest. It comes amid contract negotiations with the airline. More than 10,000 employees could be poised to strike as early as Saturday. CTV's Sean Leathong joins us live from Pearson Airport with the details. Sean.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, while they didn't disrupt any traffic today, Air Canada's flight attendants gave us a sense of what could happen this weekend. A massive show of solidarity. Hundreds of Air Canada flight attendants silent in front of the country's largest airport, demanding a better collective deal.
we don't need to speak because our union is speaking for us clearly and concisely of the demands that we need.
Over 400 members of CUPE Local 498 filed off 9 buses and onto the sidewalk outside Pearson Airport's Terminal 1, joined across the country in Calgary, along with Vancouver and Montreal. While not impacting regular operations, the statement making an impression on passengers.
I think it's very profound.
It's quite impressive that many people have come together to do something as one group.
So I think showing this kind of thing, showing that labor has some power, that workers' rights really still live in Canada, I think it's really important.
The main area of concern in negotiations, wages and unpaid work.
So just have a little bit of space.
Shannon Elliott saying they're only paid while their plane is in motion.
We're required to be at the aircraft an hour before boarding to ensure that the aircraft is safe from our end. We are also not paid for any of our boarding time, any of our deplaning time. If there is a medical emergency on the ground and we're providing vital, life-saving first aid, we're not compensated for that.
Air Canada saying they respect their flight attendants' rights to express themselves in a statement that reads in part, Air Canada remains at the bargaining table and is focused on achieving a negotiated settlement with CUPE, one that recognizes the contributions of its flight attendants by making them the best compensated in the country. The deadline to reach a deal is midnight Friday, the union having voted over 99% in favor of a strike, and they'd have to give a 72-hour strike notice as soon as Wednesday. So while flight attendants have come to a standstill at Pearson today, if there's no deal reached by midnight Friday, air traffic could come to a standstill on Saturday morning.
It will be pretty monumental.
But the union will not say if all 10,000 workers will walk off the job.
What I would ask is for a little bit of patience and understanding that we are just like any other Canadian and want to be compensated for our time at work.
Now, while there could be job action this weekend, the message from the union was that they very much want a deal to be done by Friday and they want to be at work. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan Michelle, send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Sean. Also tonight, the city's in the midst of a 911 operator hiring spree, adding more people to bring down lengthy wait times and more police to respond. In just a few minutes, we'll lay out how the city's expanding emergency services.
But first, we turn to a continuing story this summer, the heat. We are into another August week with sizzling conditions on tap, enough to warrant a heat warning. Lindsay Morrison is keeping tabs on all the numbers. She joins us now with the details. Lindsay.
Well, Michelle, not only do we have this widespread heat warning, but we're starting to see some fire bans and water bans start to pop up in some areas because it's been so dry. And of course, wildfires are a concern, which we will get to as well. Heat warning, as you can see, is widespread across southern Ontario, central parts of Ontario, and into Quebec. Right now it is 32 degrees, feeling like 39 in the city. It's just as hot the further north you go and around the Golden Horseshoe and into Niagara Falls. Not much relief is going to be found by the waterfront today, even though winds are coming out of the south and have become a little more breezy as the late afternoon and evening has progressed. We will stay very warm through the night tonight. 24 degrees is going to feel like 30. That is very uncomfortable for sleeping, especially if you don't have access to AC. A little bit of active weather along the Lake Huron shoreline. We're going to watch for the possibility of showers and thunderstorms into the day tomorrow. We'll talk about that in your weather forecast coming up. For now, though, Nathan, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. It is another sizzler in the city.
By now, residents are getting used to the sweltering conditions. Toronto experiencing just the latest heat warning this summer. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live from Woodbine Beach with more. Is it a little cooler by the water, Beth?
Really hot here, especially with the sun beating down. I saw people jogging today, and honestly, I don't know how they do it. We are under another heat warning, and just as it feels uncomfortable and dangerous, some people love it. When it feels like 40 degrees, there's nothing quite like taking the ultimate plunge into the pool for 6-year-old Emily.
It's fun, it cools me down, and it's one of my favorite things to do in the summer.
Or doing a dive for 8-year-old Julia.
It cools me down, and it makes it so like I'm not hot anymore.
For 9-year-old Vidya, a dip in the lake at Woodbine Beach does the trick. Do you remember a summer this hot before?
Not really. I feel like this is the hottest summer yet.
This summer has definitely been hotter than normal.
This is Toronto's 6th heat event this year. Without much rain or cooler breaks and plenty of humidity, hot temperatures have been dominating summer.
This one has definitely been a very hot summer for days of 30 or more. Every year is going to be different. This year we happen to be under the influence of a fairly persistent ridge of high pressure.
Too much heat. Too many heat days.
But talk to many and the conversation shifts to thoughts of those long winter months we must endure. And all this heat, they say, actually feels good.
The weather's been amazing. We started off slow, but it's perfect. Clear sailing. Every day is beautiful. I'm at the pool every day. Can't go wrong. That's the life.
I like it. It's summer and we don't have this type of weather for very long. So trying to enjoy it while I can. Being down here, it's beautiful.
Taking care in extreme heat is critical. It's important to watch for signs of heat exhaustion, a headache, nausea, or dizziness. Jackie knows when it's time to stop working and pick up an ice cream cone.
Fantastic. This is my first one for this summer. And I just treat myself like, why not?
Keeping cool, staying hydrated, and seeking shade can help prevent illness and weather the hottest days. It's recommended people plan their activities during the coolest part of the day. Reporting live at Woodbine Beach, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. And here's something to keep in mind if you're heading to the beach. Lifeguards will be off duty a little earlier starting this week. Beach supervision is being reduced by half an hour, with lifeguards leaving their posts at 7 p.m. instead of 7:30. The city says the change is because of a reduction in daylight hours at this time of year. Lifeguards will still begin their shifts at 10:30 in the morning. City beaches will remain supervised until September 1st.
A significant forest fire continues to burn in cottage country tonight.
Firefighters are working to contain the out-of-control blaze in Kawartha Lakes. Local officials saying roughly 27 hectares are burning in a heavily wooded area about 2 hours northeast of Toronto. CTV's Raheem Ladani is monitoring this developing situation and joins us live with the latest. Raheem.
Nathan, within the last couple of hours, another fire has popped up in Kawartha Lakes. This one, a grass fire in the village of Kirkfield. Meanwhile, the fire you mentioned off the top, 7 crews have been assigned to contain it.
Local fire departments are shuttling water to desperately needed areas as a wildfire between Bobcaygeon and Kinmount, west of Highway 49, remains out of control.
Having something so close and just being in view practically from where I'm standing right now is very it catches you off guard.
27 hectares of forest are actively burning in the area. At this time, there have been no injuries and evacuation orders have not been issued. But officials warn unpredictable winds could change that, saying the fire is still in a dangerous place.
I know that they're worried, but I also know how resilient they are.
Over the weekend, water bombers worked to battle the fire, which first ignited late Saturday afternoon. As crews work through another day of hot and dry conditions, adding to the difficulty is an ice storm that occurred more than 4 months ago. Earlier this year, freezing rain downed branches across much of the province, and that debris is hampering firefighting efforts.
The ice storm we had at the end of March brought down a lot of trees and created a lot of brush. And of course, with the tremendously dry conditions, it's just a recipe for this type of event.
An official cause has not been confirmed, but it's believed this fire started after an electrical storm in the area last week. A total burn ban remains in effect until further notice as firefighters work to get this blaze under control.
Other municipalities are also beginning to issue fire bans as a result of the dry conditions. Complete fire bans are now in effect for Oakville, Aurora, Newmarket, and across York Region until further notice. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. And still ahead, we'll take you to Atlantic Canada, where they have their own struggles with out-of-control wildfires. More Canadian armed forces are heading to Newfoundland and Labrador, while in New Brunswick, communities have been told to prepare to evacuate on short notice.
But first, to the latest efforts to improve emergency response times in Toronto.
The city is promising to bring on more 911 operators and upgrade technology so they can answer calls faster when every second counts. CTV's Allison Hurst has the details.
In an emergency, waiting can feel like an eternity.
Last month, our average wait time on 911 was 28 seconds. This is compared to 90 seconds over the same month last year.
It's not at the goal of 15 seconds to answer each call, but it is a 69% reduction.
I'm hoping that within the next year, we'll be able to actually achieve those NENA standards of 15 seconds within 90% of the time.
To do that, city staff say they're upgrading technology and hiring
90 more 911 operators. And as we speak, we're hiring them now.
A 5-year hiring plan with 720 new police officers in the first 2 years was approved in November.
30 to 40 million, depending on exactly how many officers go through the training and then join our service. But we were able to tell council up front, that's a big investment, but here's what you get.
In June, a 15-year-old was shot, and the 911 call was on hold for almost 7 minutes.
After that, we just held down a car quick, and then just, boom, threw him in the back seat.
That same week, Riley had a life-threatening allergic reaction, and he waited 19 minutes for an ambulance to arrive.
It was pretty scary while I was waiting for the ambulance.
City staff say there's been a decrease in shootings and firearm discharges, homicides, property theft, carjackings, and hate crimes since these efforts began.
Making this investment gets us down to that 28 seconds and then beyond.
The city is also introducing a new text-back response for misdialed or abandoned 911 calls, automatically redirecting non-emergency calls, and have a new star 877 number for non-emergency calls. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
A man who was injured in a home explosion in Barrie over the weekend has died. The blast happened at an address on Marshall Street near Thorncrest Road shortly before noon on Saturday. A 45-year-old man was found in the debris and rushed to hospital in critical condition. Police say they learned yesterday he had passed away. The fire marshal is investigating what caused this explosion.
And 2 men were taken to hospital following a stabbing in Scarborough last night. Police say it's not exactly clear where the stabbing happened, but they cordoned off an area outside a gas station near Morningside and Finch. Paramedics were called to the area just before last night. A man in his 20s was taken to hospital with potentially life-threatening injuries. Police now say he's in stable condition. A second man was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. So far, there's been no word on possible suspects.
How close is too close when it comes to building right next door to this city's green space?
A development battle in the Beaches has some residents rallying to keep condos well away from their revered ravine. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the details.
Protect our ravine!
With signs held high along Kingston Road,
Protect our ravine!
Community groups decried the development proposed for this property.
This development has no place on ravine adjacent land.
The northern edge of Glen Stewart Ravine, eyed by a developer as the site for an 11-story condo building. Built against the border of this expansive green space, considered by many as the beauty of the beach.
There is an incredible amount of biodiversity in this beautiful piece of quiet that we find in the middle of the city. And it is really important that we protect these spaces.
10 years after a smaller scale version of the application was first submitted to the city, the developer is now looking to build 99 housing units and ground level retail here, 5 stories higher than the 6 permitted as of right, without the standard setback on the ravine side.
It'll set a precedent for every other developer that wants to encroach on our ravines and public spaces. And there has to be a line drawn somewhere.
The developer is really, like I said, so off base with what they're proposing here that we've really riled up a lot of people.
It all comes as the city sits down this week for mediation with the developer and the Conservation Authority to try to broker an agreement on the application that will otherwise go to an Ontario Land Tribunal hearing next year at the request of the developer. The developer telling CTV News in a statement, quote, "We requested mediation to facilitate a collaborative discussion to respond to city staffs and the community's concerns. We feel this is the best way to manage ecological integrity and sensitivities of this development while generating new homes to help address our city's housing crisis."
Balancing with the ecological integrity of the Glen Stewart Ravine is very important. That's why there's policies in place from the Toronto Region Conservation Authority that dictates setbacks from the ravine to protect it. That's going to be very important as this application works through the cycle to make sure that we can protect those setbacks, protect the ravine, and still provide opportunities for the type of housing that we need to see here in Toronto.
The Protect Our Ravines group insists they are not anti-development, just that this is not the place for it. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
We saw a few minutes ago what's happening in Kawartha Lakes. Wildfires are also continuing to burn across the country, including in Newfoundland and Labrador, where there's a new blaze near St. John's. CTV's Garrett Berry has the details.
As police stop traffic on the Trans-Canada Highway just outside of St. John's, above, a water bomber and a helicopter work to contain the spread of fire. Newfoundland Hydro is warning this smoke and the flames underneath could force officials to shut off power along these major transmission lines. That would cause a significant power outage in the St. John's area. Premier John Hogan told reporters they were forced to consider shutting down power to help firefighters earlier today, and officials will keep watching that possibility in the coming hours.
Well, that's why it's very important to make sure the assets are available to focus on this fire right now, and they're doing everything they can, of course.
This latest fire detected this morning, spreading firefighters even thinner in this province. The weather is no help. It's hot and windy, and it hasn't rained in St. John's in almost 2 weeks. Across the province, about 3,000 have been evacuated, most from a 50-square-kilometer fire burning in the province's Conception Bay North area. Some have been out of their home for a week.
And it's our childhood place that we always wanted to come back to, so it's a lot of emotion. Very difficult.
The air assets, the helicopter, the water bombers working in this area, they had to come from other firefighting efforts in Newfoundland. Premier John Hogan says that's part of the reason why he was urging residents to be so careful when they were out in wooded areas all throughout the past week.
Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Meanwhile, in New Brunswick, people are being warned to be ready to flee as firefighters battle 3 out-of-control blazes.
The wildfire situation in New Brunswick has gotten worse. We know that the hot, humid, windy weather is going to continue for the foreseeable future. It was hotter today. I think Bathurst recorded higher temperatures than we've seen in some parts of Florida.
Residents in the areas of Irishtown, Tankville, Evangeline, and Lakeville are being told to be ready to evacuate on short notice. Officials say everyone in the province should have an evacuation plan in place. Teams from Nova Scotia, PEI, and the state of Maine are expected to join the fight against the fires. In BC, a blaze near Kelowna is not expected to grow any further, so evacuees can now go home.
There's more bad news for Canada's forestry sector, now reacting to the Trump administration's decision to more than double penalties on softwood lumber imports.
Officials in BC say the move doesn't just hurt Canadian business, but will drive up construction costs for Americans. CTV's Abigail Beeman has the details.
We've sent our student workers home a month early for the summer. And we're going to, quite honestly, we're going to try to keep our mill, which employs 25 people in Chilliwack, going.
Andy Riley says things are urgent for his business and the entire softwood lumber industry. The trade war and the new Department of Commerce decision to raise tariffs, which along with counter-dumping duties total just over 35%, adds up to the most challenging time he's seen in 40 years.
We have to put that duty onto our sale price. And what happens to our customers is sometimes their sales slow down and their customers will start substituting for composite products or other hardwoods or other softwoods, whatever. But we are in danger of pricing Western red cedar completely out of the market.
BC's Minister of Forests called the U.S. move absurd and reckless, while the federal Natural Resources Minister said the industry has for too long been subject to unfair trade actions and the tariffs hurt Canadians and Americans alike. The U.S. decision comes after the Prime Minister promised supports, including $700 million in loans and $500 million to support market diversification.
Canada does not dump lumber into the United States, and we will continue to make the case that these current and proposed duties are unjustified.
The industry largely welcomed Ottawa's move, but Andy Riley says his group is working on pitching some other ideas to the feds. They're looking for help to pay the difference in duties between their raw materials cost and the sale price, which is what's so crippling about the new tariffs. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Australia is joining Canada and some other countries in announcing its intention to recognize a Palestinian state.
Australia will recognise the state of Palestine. Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own.
Australia's Prime Minister says the Palestinian Authority has promised to hold general elections and to recognise Israel's right to exist. He's been facing weeks of pressure from within his cabinet to recognise a Palestinian state amid growing criticism over suffering and starvation in Gaza. Australia will make the decision official at the UN General Assembly in September.
It was a busy day for Donald Trump, who was wielding his power at a fiery White House news conference.
The U.S. president placed the American Capitol under federal control and was also pressed for details about Friday's upcoming meeting with Russia's president. CTV senior political correspondent Mike LeCouture has more from Ottawa.
Today's press conference was all about President Trump flexing his muscle, saying that only he can clean up the U.S. Capitol, and adding that no one else can broker a deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
The U.S. president describing it as Liberation Day in D.C. In a bid to crack down on crime, Trump is placing Washington under federal control while also deploying the National Guard.
But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
On the streets of D.C., protesters pushed back on the idea that the Capitol isn't safe. And Mayor Muriel Bowser said violent crime is at its lowest level in more than 3 decades.
If they can place us under military control without our consent, they will carry this playbook to every community that dares to push back in the United States of America.
While using his authority on the Capitol, President Trump was asked how he'll push Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday in Alaska, in what Trump is describing as a feel-out meeting.
Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
Trump also used the term land swap, indicating that Ukraine could also have to give up some territory. Ukraine's president is not invited to the talks, and in his nightly address, cast doubt that Friday's meeting will bring peace.
На що розраховує Путін і до чого реально готується?
Volodymyr Zelensky said Putin is not getting ready for peace, but instead is getting ready for a new military offensive. Zelensky also spoke to Prime Minister Mark Carney today, where the two leaders agreed international borders cannot be changed by force, and that any decision on Ukraine's future should be made by Ukrainians. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Coming up, fresh off winning Canada's top tennis tournament, teen sensation Victoria Mboko sits down with CTV News, reflecting on her incredible triumph and the family sacrifices behind it.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, scammers are sending fake links trying to get into your bank account, and you have to be careful not to click on them. 2 women had their bank accounts hacked and lost $22,000 and $28,000. All of that story, that's just ahead.
Well, the weather has been hot. It has also been very dry. We've had no rain at Pearson Airport so far this month, a total of 0 millimeters. At this time last year, we had about 14. And our average August amount is about 78 millimeters of rain. Now, we might get some precipitation tomorrow in the form of showers or even thunderstorms, maybe Wednesday, too. We'll detail the possible timing of this coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
We are constantly being bombarded with scam phone calls, texts, and emails, and we have to be careful not to engage with fraudsters.
2 viewers clicked on links that caused their bank accounts to be hacked, and they both lost more than $20,000. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. Well, many of us get texts every day that look like they could be from the tax department, the post office, or your bank. Most are phishing scams trying to get your personal information, and if you click on them, you could lose your money.
Just be careful.
Christina Petrozelli of Mississauga got a link that said she had to click on it to decline a purchase. Concerned she was being scammed, she did, but it led to her being hacked and her bank account being taken over.
I clicked decline, and I guess that's where the scam was, because me clicking decline was them having access to my account.
Petrozelli was scammed out of just over $22,000. Her bank is RBC, and she was shocked to be told because she had granted the scammers access to her account, she won't be reimbursed.
I have feelings, and I have people that rely on me, and you're taking everything that I had, and I didn't do it.
A spokesperson for RBC told CTV News, "We are unable to share details. However, RBC will never ask you to download a remote access application."
I clicked the link and I updated my information. And then the next thing you know, my phone stopped working.
Christy Seymour of Oshawa also clicked on a link she thought was updating her credit card. Her phone was hacked and scammers got into her account and stole almost $29,000. She had called Wealthsimple for 3 days to block her account, but couldn't get through.
That was all of the money I've saved my entire life, and it's just gone, and they're not taking any responsibility for their part of the problem.
Wealthsimple told Seymour, your account appears to have been accessed by an individual to whom you've authorized via a phishing scam.
They're getting more and more targeted, more personalized, and more sophisticated.
Cybersecurity experts say everyone should be using dual-factor authentication to add another layer of protection and be cautious of all links you receive.
The 3 things that they're counting on are surprise, urgency, and that need to respond.
After CTV News contacted Wealthsimple, they reviewed Seymour's case and said, as a gesture of goodwill, we have reimbursed the losses she experienced while trying to contact our team. She was given a full refund of almost $29,000, which was great news for her.
Thanks, CTV. I feel wonderful. Like all the worry and dread and regret and doubt is gone, and I feel great. I don't know what I would do without you guys.
And if you get a text that looks like it's from your bank and you're asked to click on a link, don't do it. You're better off calling the number on the back of your debit or credit card to make sure you're dealing with your bank and not a scammer. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
All right, another day in the 30s. I am getting used to it, but if you don't have air conditioning, this is really a challenge.
It's straight up oppressive, and there really hasn't been much of a reprieve, although it's funny how a few degrees maybe later in the week seems like, ooh, it'll be potentially a little chilly, but not even close.
In a summer like this one, 28 and 29 degrees, those are the cool days. So we'll take them. That's what's coming a little later this week. But yes, we do have to endure this heat for a little bit longer. It's tough for those without AC. It's been a tough growing season for farmers with the conditions that we've had. But summer is starting to come to an end. And you know why I know that? Here's why. They're setting up for the CNE this week. Yes, the roller coasters, the Midway, the Ferris wheel, it's all going into place. The CNE, the X, officially begins this Friday. And I will say the weather is looking good for your plans, especially on Thursday and Friday. It's going to be a little more comfortable, and the sun is going to be shining. Let's talk about air quality, because we are also talking about wildfires that have crept a little closer to home in the Kawarthas, for example. We're at a 5 moderate risk on the Air Quality Health Index here in the city of Toronto, so we've gone up just a little bit. We will be at moderate risk tonight and for tomorrow. I suspect we're going to see a little more wildfire smoke drifting into our neck of the woods midweek, followed by some improvements as we inch a little bit closer to the weekend. Cold front's going to swing through. That will give us a bit of a break from the heat, but not tonight. Right now it is 32 degrees in Toronto. It feels like 37. It's feeling more like 40 in places like Owen Sound and Muskoka. Overnight tonight, very uncomfortable for sleeping. Anytime the temperature remains above 20 degrees, we know that that can be quite oppressive. And tonight, at the coolest point in the night in Toronto, it's going to be 24 degrees, feeling like 30. Bit of a heat repeat for tomorrow, 33 for the high, 41 the humidex. Difference tomorrow is that we're going to introduce the possibility of a few showers and thunderstorms. A little snapshot of temperatures for select cities across southern Ontario. 33 degrees for you in Oakville as well as Vaughan, as well as Belleville. A little bit cooler in the Port Perry area at 31. So in addition to heat, we're also looking at a UV index of 9, so slather on the sunscreen. Don't forget that at this time of year, even as we start to tire of the summer season. We can't forget about those important things like staying hydrated and protecting ourselves from the sun's rays. All right, let's talk about this possibility of active weather. We could use some rain. Looks like a few showers could bubble up tomorrow afternoon, starting early afternoon and then into the early part of the evening. If this happens, as it appears right now on our forecast radar, this would easily be our most significant rain so far this month and really through a good portion of July as well. There's Wednesday morning, so still looking at some possible active weather and maybe a quick passing shower. These are going to be fast moving, so it's a little bit hit and miss. It's not a guarantee that we're going to get rain. Fingers crossed for those hoping for it for their lawns, gardens, or perhaps even more importantly, farmers' fields. Then into Thursday and Friday, we dry out again. There's the cool down, 28 and 29 degrees. Don't get too used to that. We're back up around 32 for the high on Saturday. That's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, curbing the risk of RSV. The calls for families to opt for protection against the seasonal virus and other provinces to follow Ontario's lead. Summer will soon be coming to an end, and that means respiratory virus season is just around the corner.
And the Federation of Medical Women of Canada is urging all provinces to protect babies from RSV. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is the leading cause of infant hospitalizations in Ontario, with 1 in 50 babies affected in their first year.
The issue of RSV and raising awareness is so important because of what we went through with Willa.
That was in 2023, before immunizations against RSV were available in Canada.
The emotional trauma of seeing your 2-month-old be hooked up to all these machines. She was sick for about 2 weeks. We were in the hospital for 4 days. Then I would say it took a couple more weeks for her to start getting back to herself.
We don't have an antiviral drug. What we do is what we call supportive therapy, so oxygen, IV fluids.
Dr. Vivian Brown says RSV is a very common virus that can affect any baby.
The number one risk is no risk. We see it in normal, healthy babies. We see RSV throughout the year, but predominantly around October through March. But a couple of years ago, the Children's Hospital in Eastern Ottawa had an overflow of RSV cases in August.
The majority of infants recover, but it can leave permanent effects.
Every time she gets any sort of respiratory illness, it takes a really long time for her to recover. And I think that can be correlated to her experiencing RSV.
Right now, Ontario is the only province covering both the vaccine Abrysvo, offered late in pregnancy to protect newborns, as well as antibodies called Beyfortus, given to infants.
If they had been available, I would definitely have opted in to having the vaccine prior to giving birth to her.
The Federation of Medical Women of Canada is urging all provinces and territories to follow Ontario's example, but even in Ontario, many families aren't aware that this protection against RSV is available. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Hot Docs has sold its flagship movie theater in Toronto. The organization says the cinema on Bloor Street has been purchased for more than $6 million. The buyer wishes to remain anonymous, but is described as a longtime annex neighbor with close ties to the community. Hot Docs says the deal includes a multi-year lease that will allow it to continue operating and programming the theater. It was put up for sale last year after the nonprofit warned financial pressures were putting the documentary film festival at risk. After the break, volunteers wanted. The city is looking for thousands of people to help when the FIFA World Cup comes to town next year. We'll have those details just ahead.
We want justice
for Andrew and to make sure that reckless driving, where people have no respect for the lives that they impact with their actions, is put to an end.
Updating our top stories, remembering a man who was killed when his car was struck by another vehicle earlier this month. Andrew Cristillo's wife and three daughters were also in the car and are recovering. 18-year-old Jaiwin Victor Kirubanathan faces a number of charges.
We don't need to speak because our union is speaking for us clearly and concisely of the demands that we need.
Air Canada flight attendants displayed solidarity at Pearson Airport today as they seek a new contract. Negotiations continue, but they could go on strike Saturday if no deal is reached. Wages and unpaid work are the main issues. There were similar protests at airports in Calgary, Vancouver, and Montreal.
Having something so close and just being like in view practically from where I'm standing right now is very it catches you off guard.
A wildfire between Bubcaygeon and Kinmount west of Highway 49 remains out of control. 27 hectares are burning in the area. There have been no evacuation orders, but winds could change that. Fire departments are shuttling water to needed areas.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar is down about 1/5 of a cent to 72.54 U.S. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down to 50.72 a barrel, and the TSX ended the day up more than 16 points to close at 27,775.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Fresh off her magical run at the National Bank Open in Montreal, Canada's tennis queen Victoria Mboko is soaking up the spotlight, but also trying to stay focused on her next tournament, the U.S. Open.
The 18-year-old shocked the tennis world after claiming her first title and soaring up the rankings to number 24. CTV's Adrian Gabriel spoke one-on-one with Mboko today.
Utter disbelief. Victoria Mboko's maiden WTA title.
National Bank Canadian champion. How does that sound?
Now that when you say it like that, I mean, it feels kind of crazy. I'd say it's kind of hitting me a little bit harder now than it was right after the match.
When you reflect back and you see what you've accomplished in such a short amount of time, what does that mean to you?
If I would have told my younger self that, you know, I would have done something like that, I would have never thought of it.
Your family flees war in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You were born in the U.S. in 2006. Shortly thereafter, you move to Canada. Do you believe the resilience, the perseverance of your parents, of your family, has transferred into your game on the court?
I think it definitely does. Maybe I haven't really experienced what they've experienced along the way, but knowing that kind of sacrifice that they make, they worked overtime, you know, so we can have the opportunity to have more lessons and play in the group practices and play with good people. There was just so many sacrifices along the way that played a big role into who I am today. I think growing up, I always was aware of it. And I think I made more of an effort to try to better myself, to make it worth it, you know?
You're 18 years old. You just won your country's top tennis tournament. How does Victoria Mboko stay grounded while continuing to rise?
I think having a great support system around me, having people who know who you are, I think it's very important at tournaments and even in life as I advance in my career, to have just great people around me that can make me feel like me and who can make me feel comfortable as well.
The teenage champion is indeed sure-footed in the spotlight. Her youthful gaze now shifts to the U.S. Open, where she'll be playing for the very first time, with aspirations of winning her first Grand Slam tournament now on the horizon. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
If you're looking to be part of next year's FIFA World Cup, here's one way. Volunteer applications have opened for the event. The city says it is looking for more than 3,000 volunteers in several different areas, including fan experiences, accessibility services, media operations, and event logistics. Toronto is set to host 6 matches, including the men's national team's home opener. More information can be found on the city and FIFA's websites. The World Cup is set to kick off next June.
Just ahead, don't go chasing waterfalls unless you're a world-class diver, taking the plunge at the international competition that sees competitors soar.
Tonight, the debate over the surprising summer travel ban.
We should definitely get people out of the woods.
Why a walk in the woods in some provinces could now cost you thousands of dollars. Later on.
Competitors from around the world gathered to take the plunge.
This is the International Waterfall Jumping Contest in Bosnia. And it all takes place in, look at this picturesque setting. The waterfall is located in the center of the city and is about 20 meters high. It's an unforgettable event for both spectators and divers. Some say it's the most unique place they've ever competed. Others characterize it as a special experience.
You know, it almost looks like AI, but it's real.
Would you forget diving? Would you jump off there?
If
Would
you
try
paid
it?
me, let's say, minimum $1 million. How about yourself?
I feel like I tried for free. You know? I don't know.
In this hot weather, I guess, yeah.
I was just going to say, too scary for me, but it sure looks refreshing, doesn't it? Let's talk about the heat warning that's still in place for another night and another day before things start to cool down once again. Here's what it looks like on the map. It includes all of us here in southern Ontario, extending into northern parts of the province and over to Quebec as well. So there it is. Here's a look at what we're waking up to tomorrow. Yeah, more in the way of sunshine. It's the afternoon that brings the possibility of some showers and some thunderstorms. It's going to be another hot one, so just be aware of that. And one more look at this 7-day forecast. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but you can join Heather Wright tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Ahmed with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.